As organizations grow, leadership is less about doing the work and more about creating a culture and conditions for others to do their best work. When leaders and teams, when they understand, communicate, and operate from those values consistently, this impacts performance and results in a massive, massive way. And that's because values influence behavior.
In 2026, leading a team isn't just about passing down strategies from the executive suite. It's about managing pressures from both directions while maintaining trust, alignment, and performance.
As we continue to evolve and think about the future of work, the competitive advantage, ironically, is being more human, is operating from a place of values.
Hello everyone, this is Kripa Anand and welcome to the CanadianSME Small Business Podcast. Today we are exploring the intense world of middle management and corporate execution. In 2026, leading a team isn't just about passing down strategies from the executive suite. It's about managing pressures from both directions while maintaining trust, alignment, and performance. Joining us is Parm Chohan, the founder of Conquer Leadership Inc. With more than 2 decades of deep experience across corporate communications, organizational development, and the healthcare sector, Param is a certified Gallup Strengths Coach, a Maxwell Leadership Trainer, and a certified EQI 2.0 Emotional Intelligence Expert. He specializes in helping managers translate core values into daily operational behaviors. So before further ado, let's welcome this very special guest. Param, welcome to the podcast. Such a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me. As you were reading off those credentials, who are they talking about? But yes, I'm very privileged. It's a privilege and a pleasure to do the work that I do these days, and very excited to jump into some interesting conversations.
Definitely, I'm looking forward to this episode, Param. Specifically from the day that I've had this conversation with you before the podcast recording, there's this very unique thing about how you interact with people, specifically because I call myself an empath, right? So I am able to pick onto those emotional nuances that, people have in the conversations. And I see something very similar about you as well. So let's start the conversation by understanding from your extensive experience. I'm sure you work with businesses of all sizes, right? So what are the most common mistakes that you see people making throughout the different sizes of organization, no matter how small or how big the team is? Go ahead.
So interestingly, the challenges don't completely change as organizations grow from smaller teams to larger corporations, larger organizations. They're the same challenges, but obviously they become that much more complex, sophisticated, and if they're not dealt with fairly quickly, that much more expensive.
Right.
And no one likes an expensive problem. As organizations grow, leadership is less about doing the work and more about creating a culture and conditions for others to do their best work. So very specifically and quickly, some of the challenges that I see across the work that I do is with communication, role clarity and accountability, and then there's leadership capacity. So with communication in smaller teams, communication is often informal.
Yeah.
Small teams thrive on informal communication. Larger teams don't.
Right.
With larger teams, that informal communication, information gets diluted, messages get missed, assumptions increase, and then teams are working from different narratives and perspectives. So as organizations grow, communication has to be that much more streamlined. And then there's role clarity and accountability. In smaller teams, things overlap. In larger organizations, that's not going to work because that overlap can create increased confusion,
Right.
decreased accountability, and then work falls through the cracks, and people start asking, who's responsible for this? Who am I reporting into? So really, the roles and clear reporting lines need to be there. And then with leadership capacity, it's a little bit different. With leadership capacity, Kirpa, as smaller teams grow into organizations, the leadership behaviors and leadership structure and style and habits have to evolve too. And it's a different set of skills required to start up a team and scale it to a larger organization and a team. And often those leadership capabilities don't translate in the same way. So that's important for that to be focused in on as well.
Wow. Firstly, very well articulated because, what you mentioned about those basic problems being the same despite the number of employees working in your team. I think that's crucial because even from a personal perspective, you experience it yourself as well. But you mentioned something very interesting, the leadership style. Now, the word leadership, it means different things to different individuals, right? From your perspective, I'd love to understand what is value-based leadership style and how exactly does it, matter for a business to be successful in a true ultimate sense.
Yeah. So values-based leadership is my jam. This is what I enjoyed. Like, this is the juice. This is the good stuff. Everyone's familiar with ROI, return on investment.
Right.
I introduced a concept in my work called return on values, ROV. So return on values, the idea is that is when leaders and teams, when they understand, communicate, and operate from those values consistently, this impacts performance and results in a massive, massive way. And that's because values influence behavior, behavior shapes culture, culture then impacts performance. So it's all connected. And the three main areas that are mostly benefited with ROV, return on values, is alignment with organizational goals, there's increased employee engagement, and improved communication and collaboration. And at a macro level, this values work isn't soft rainbows, unicorns, fluffy stuff.
Yeah.
This is peak performance. Because when it's translated into how does this work connect to the individual, which connects to the team, the division, the through line between the organization, that connection is what allows people to show up as their most authentic and real and productive self, put in the work, have the psychological safety to own up when they've made mistakes, and then continue on with those performance results pieces. So values-based leadership allows us to see each other as humans, connect as humans, people. We're all in the people business.
Right.
So when we get this right, there's a greater chance we'll get the work stuff right as well.
Wow. Param, you're so passionate about what you do. Is this something that you always wanted to do as a kid as well, or did you stumble upon this in your career maybe?
So I'm the oldest in my family, the oldest of the cousins, and my mom's the oldest on her side. So informally, I've always had a leadership role within the family.
Right, yes.
And then within the community, I used to have a couple of very special individuals call me leader when I was very young. So a lot, and then there's a lot of the community work and student associations that I was a part of. So I've always had that leadership capacity in some way shining through, either as part of a team or leading the team.
Yeah.
These days, I get to have conversations with senior leaders, city managers, EDs, SVPs that they can't have with their leadership teams.
Did you ever imagine yourself to be the one who is bridging that gap for those companies and for those individuals?
I can see now, looking back retrospectively, how everything lined up.
Yeah.
But it's still a pretty big privilege and a pleasure to do the work that I do, and quite often I'm blown away with some of the results that the teams and clients I work with get, and it's just pretty cool to have the conversations that I get to have.
Beautiful. No, so much more part to you, definitely. Now, moving ahead into the conversation, I'd love for you to educate our listeners about the PDD framework under pressure. So, Param, how does the PDD framework helps leaders stay calm under pressure as well? Go ahead.
So PDD actually came out of a real-time coaching conversation with a senior leader. We created this right in that leadership session. One of the things I notice when I'm coaching senior leaders is that most leaders don't struggle with competency. Like they're very competent, they're very capable. They're operating at an above average level. These are very high performers, but what they struggle with is making decisions while feeling overwhelmed, under pressure, not having all the information. When you're under pressure and you're trying to make decisions, your thinking tends to narrow. And we end up focusing on the immediate problem, which is still important, but often forget the macro strategic objectives behind it. So what PDD does is it's a framework that helps us dial in on what the problem is and allows us to organize our thinking so that we can then organize what the next steps are. So very quickly, PDD stands for pause, define, decide. Simple. Very simple. Simple doesn't mean easy. Kripa, simple doesn't mean easy. So pause means taking the time to actually slow down, push the pause button, and think through what is the actual challenge, what's the urgency. So doing a bit of a scan, right, and holding that space. Sometimes the most productive leaders are the ones that can sit back and pause, not jump right into action.
Yes.
Pause, define, make sure that you're solving the right problem. Because when something urgent comes up, the tendency is to solve this right here, which might be the need, but we've got to link it back to what's the macro level, right? So being able to unpack and discover often comes up in coaching conversations where a leader might say about communication issues or performance issues. When we dive deeper below the surface, we realize it's role clarity. We realize it's trust and psychological safety, which is much deeper. So we've got to be defining the right problem. And then the decide piece is taking the action. Some action. It doesn't have to be perfect, but some action needs to be taken. One of the most popular types of coaching conversations I have with leaders is for leaders to trust themselves to move forward without having the full and complete set of information. That's hard. There's a lot of fear baked into that. But sometimes we've got to do best with what we have because you don't know what's 10 steps down the road. So it's really having them trust themselves to be able to take that easiest next step.
Wow. Do you trust your own self?
I've become that much more comfortable trusting the next few steps. I'm good at the long-term vision. I'm good at reverse engineering the process and identifying what the immediate next steps are. I find that as long as I focus on the next few, I'm good. If I start to worry about steps 5, 6, 7, or 8, that starts to stress me out a bit. Because then it's a what if, right? What if this, what if this, what, and then I have to pull myself back. So I'm getting better. It's always a work in process and a work in progress. I'm getting better to trust the immediate next few steps.
That's beautifully explained, and I'm sure all of our listeners will relate to this. So thank you for that educational content. To the corporate executives and middle managers watching, in 2026, your leadership presence under pressure determines your team's survival. Parm Chohan and Conquer Leadership are transforming corporate workplaces through custom e-learning platforms, high-impact team development experiences, and his signature leadership game. He is helping managers completely eliminate executive anxiety, step into higher operational confidence, and achieve massive career milestones. If you are ready to stop managing stress and start conquering your team's true potential, listen to his weekly ConquerCast podcast on Spotify or visit conquerleadership.ca to book a custom leadership experience today. Equip your managers with the emotional intelligence they need to truly win. All right, it's time for a quick break right here, but don't go anywhere because when we come back, we'll explore how emotional intelligence is reshaping the way modern leaders build trust and influence. Stay tuned.
Hey, you think you know UPS? Yeah, that's us. Everybody knows that. You know what you didn't know? This. Okay, try to keep up. Ocean, us. Ground, rail, air, so us. Guess who? Us. Customs cleared, borders cleared, done. Us. You still with me? Wait for it. Boom. Us. Intelligent, automated, fulfillment. Us. Yep. Healthcare too. Digital your thing? Yeah. Well, book it, ship it, track it. You feeling me yet? Yep. That's all us. That's all UPS.
Welcome back to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. Let's dive into the connection between emotional intelligence, leadership presence, and creating high-performing teams. Now, moving ahead into the conversation, Param, we talked about values-based leadership. Now, I'd like to jump upon alpha-based leadership. What does it mean? Does it mean in the literal sense what it is meant to be, or does it have a hidden meaning as well? And apart from that, I also mentioned in the introduction that you are someone with a very high emotional intelligence as well. So go ahead and educate our audience about the purpose and the need for being emotionally intelligent in businesses as well, because these two are two separate areas which together do not come forward. So this is a very interesting thing for me personally as well. Go ahead.
So I don't claim to have high emotional intelligence. I am certified in the coaching modality. I'm working on the EI side. So alpha leadership, this is interesting. When we think of alpha, we often think about someone who is dominant, has authority, sometimes the loudest person in the room. My perspective is different. I fundamentally believe that alpha leadership isn't about power over people. It's about self-regulation and making sure that your people are taken care of. One of the ideas that's helped shape my thinking is by observing wolf packs as they travel from site. You can't get more alpha than a wolf pack. Right? So observing these wolf packs, typically the strongest, most experienced set of wolves aren't usually just at the front. They're throughout the wolf pack, and they position themselves typically towards the back. This is where they're able to observe the entire group. They can monitor potential threats and make sure that their tribe is taken care of. Now, whether the science is 100% accurate on this or not, the leadership lesson is powerful. The best leaders don't focus on being first. They focus on protecting, supporting, guiding their people. It's the ability to lead with awareness rather than ego. It means showing up as confident, not arrogant, and creating the conditions for others to succeed. That's where alpha leadership is.
Wow, I think alpha leadership is just leadership in its true essence, right? What it is meant to be. I'm loving this conversation today, Param, and definitely we'd love for you to be back, hopefully for a deeper discussion that we do the next time. But before we let you go, I'd like to do a little time travel with you. Imagine if I were to give you a time machine right now and we were to go 5 or 10 years into the future. Specifically with artificial intelligence now into the picture, how exactly do you think AI is going to take over or change this entire, self-regulation and leadership conversations and this entire conversation where the human element is so important right now? Where do you think the importance of that will be in the next few years?
It's funny that you asked me that, Kripa. I actually just finished my own podcast with a leader in the AI space. And what we landed on is that AI won't replace leadership capabilities, meaning people are always going to be involved. Whether it's a larger team or a smaller team, people are always going to be involved. AI can't replace empathy, kindness, situational awareness, change fatigue, not having the correct or right reporting lines and the conversations that come out of that, the difficult conversations. AI is not going to replace that. So it means that As we continue to evolve and think about the future of work, the competitive advantage, ironically, is being more human, is operating from a place of values, being very clear on what alpha leadership means, being clear on what your strengths are, having higher emotional intelligence, which, if we could quickly touch on, emotional intelligence means being self-regulated, having that self-awareness, having empathy, trust, being able to trust yourself, problem solving, reality testing, all of that good stuff. Machine learning will only take us so far. I may be wrong, but this is an opportunity for us to double down on what makes us unique, and that gives us that competitive advantage, which is the human side.
Beautiful. Anthropic's CEO made this statement a couple of months ago that artificial intelligence is a breathing entity. So the next time that we get you for the next episode, we're going to have a deeper discussion for this as well. Param, before we finally let you go, if there's one final piece of advice that you have for our listeners today, specifically to all the people in the managerial positions right now who are stuck and don't know where to take that first leap of faith from, if you could whisper one thing into their ears, what would you say and why?
Connection. Connection with your people. Connection at best is a one-to-one exercise. It gets harder as you move up within an organization, but as best, and the most powerful way is a one-to-one exercise. When you can build that honest, open, real, legit connection with your people, then that affords you, then you're allowed to influence and lead them. If you don't have connection, what are the chances you'll have real influence and leadership with your people? At that point, it's positional. They're following you because of title. As soon as your title changes, they're on to someone else. And that might be the case. But what we want to do is we want them to follow the person. Connection is what it comes down to. And I say that because that's how I operate. I've had leaders who have built connection with me over the years who I still keep in touch with. You can't outsource an AI connection.
Beautiful ending to this beautiful episode, and a great reminder that in this world of AI, human connection is not going anywhere. So Param, thank you so much for this amazing reminder. It was such a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you very much. I look forward to another one.
Of course. All right, that was Parm Chohan from Conquer Leadership Inc., a masterclass in navigating middle management pressure, applying the PDD framework and leveraging emotional intelligence to build high-performance corporate cultures in 2026. To all the listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and visit CanadianSME.ca for more such resources. To learn more about how we are supporting the ecosystem beyond the platform, please visit the Canadian SME Small Business Foundation at smbfoundation.ca. And lastly, a very special thank you to our partners, UPS, our shipping partner, and ADP, our HR partner, for their ongoing commitment to empowering small businesses across Canada. I'll see you all in the next episode. Kripa Anand signing off.